This is a nice problem to learn how to manipulate your calculator a little bit to adjust your window to make sure you can see a curve. I know you know how to find the min and the max, but it's really a matter of can you figure out where the graph is. And let's just kind of figure out where we're at here. We have this Leffer curve, never heard of it, to predict the government revenue. So keywords here for tax rates from 0 to 100%. So X is, when we see an X in our problem here, we're going to realize that that's a percent. So that's from 0 to 100. So that gives us some good domain restrictions. And then R is revenue in millions. And so we want to make sure when we write down our answer, we can express it in terms of the right unit of measure. So R is in millions, revenue in dollars in millions, and then tax rate of X percent. So let's go ahead and it says use a graphing calculator to graph the function. What tax rate produces the maximum revenue, and what is the maximum revenue? So go back to y equals, and we're going to type that in alpha at y equals. So access F1 to get our fraction, and then to be able to express our function in terms of a fraction, and then 100 minus x in the parentheses. And again, if you don't have this feature in your calculator, you just have to use parentheses. You have to be really careful that you use parentheses in the right places. And when you have the fraction feature, it's nice because then you can just make sure that your function looks just like what it's supposed to look like. So that's our function, but now let's adjust our window. Remember, X represents the percent. So we're going to go from 0 to 100%. And then what's kind of nice with your graphing calculator, if you just hit graph, you might not see anything, which like I said, I can't see anything here. But just to get an idea of what the Y values are going to be, we're not really sure what the revenue is going to be in millions, and so hit the trace button. When you hit the trace button, okay, it's still drawing the graph. If I hit the trace button, I notice that my X values I already know my X values are going to go from 0 to 100. But if I hit the right arrow, if you notice, or the left arrow, I'm looking at specifically the Y values because I want to know how high to make my Y values. So it looks like the revenues aren't going to go above 400 million. And so if I keep hitting my right arrow, I know that I have a function that looks like we're going to have between 0 and 100. There's going to be a tax rate that produces, that's what it says, what tax rate produces the maximum revenue. So I'm seeing that the numbers when I'm close to 0, where I'm at 0, I'm at 0 for revenue. But as I move to the right, the numbers, the Y values get higher, and then they start decreasing after a certain amount of time. So I know that I can adjust my viewing window to include 400. Let's go up to 500 just because I see the high point even better probably. And so once I adjust my viewing window properly, then I can see the curve I'm looking for, and that's when I can do second trace. So I want to calculate the maximum value of the function, and I don't want to mess with the X values here, but so I'll just move the cursor over. So instead of having to think about it, I can just kind of move the cursor left, then right, and then towards the middle. And I can see what I have is the tax rate that produces the maximum revenue would be the X value there. So that's 30.902, and that would be, we can call that a 30.9. Let's just call that a 30.9. So the tax rate that produces the maximum revenue would be 30.902%. And then we have, what is the maximum revenue? Well, that's the Y coordinate. That's 381.966. So we have $381.966 million. Million. So that's how we'll write that. And if we want to write that without the decimal, we can just write 381,966,000, and we can write it like that. So that's how we can write it. What work do we need to show? We just need to show this graph of the function, and we show the 30.9 comma 381.97. Let's say like that. So we show the high point, and then we have our interpretation of the high point, and we are done. So that's all the work that you have to show, and that's it.